The shape of a horse's head loomed out of the snow. Marley started and then threw himself out of the way. He was back on the streets of London. The flying paper was just gusting snow upon the keen morning wind. He heard one of the living call out, "A Merry Christmas to you!" to another, and received the accustomed reply in return. It's Christmas Day, he thought. They've arranged it. Well, of course they did. Linton could do anything she wanted. Oh, the White Lady, Sir Simon, even dear old Madame Crowle. What a marvel they all are. I shall look for them in the shadows. Even that director, though he be harsh, he certainly gets his performances. Marley drew himself into the shadows. It was a bright day, with a light that rendered everything it fell on fresh and remarkable. There must have been some property in that light that was the same as the light in the church, as every living person who walked within it showed the chains around their persons. Of course they did, thought Marley. If on any day we should be able to see these burdens for what they are, mere thistle down and mist, then it should be on this day. As he watched closer, he saw the odd chain melt away from some of the people's burdens, like frost in the sunlight. Oh, and I'll wager that any chains that melt away on this day will not come back with the added weight of regret, if they ever do, he thought. High up, a shuttered window was flung open, and a splutch of snowmelt tumbled wetly to the ground, straight through the figure of Marley. He laughed at the sensation of ice actually running down his actual spine, and he looked up. A stick figure scratched madly against the clear sky. It was Scrooge, pumping out salvation from every angle. His body, that had long ago forgotten joy, was now twitching with rivulets of unabashed wonder. Hope was blazing out of his parchment skin. Friendship was beaming out of his gimlet eyes, and salvation sung out in his cracked and reedy voice. He puts the angels to shame today, thought Marley, as Scrooge carolled a half-remembered tune to the accompaniment of city bells. This is the symphony of redemption, music and grace made man, though to mortal eyes he's just a crazy tatter in a nightshirt and cap, enraptured by the bells. Scrooge called down to a boy who was passing, "What day is it?" The answer the boy's shouts sets him dancing, and Marley watched him dance. Marley, another thing of wonder, but no, not of light. He knew that he was of a darker order, welded to death. He pulled his chains around him, his links and locks, his boxes and bonds, festooned as ever they were, standing in the last patch of shadow. They were heavy and solid, and he truly didn't mind them. Their coldness comforted him. He forged them. He owned them. They were his, and he would carry them. The small scrap of shadow that he was standing in got smaller. Being eaten away by the sun, he drew himself in, watching whilst he could. And as he watched, he saw every one of Scrooge's chains dissipate. They became like doves and children's laughter and hope, and they melted away in the bright morning air. He'd imagined he might have felt some pang of envy, seeing Scrooge's burden lifted even while his own still weighed down on him, but no, he laughed. He who thought he might rage as he watched Scrooge babble about poultry, he found that bitterness simply would not come. This, he thought, is my reward. This instant. Yet he was also ashamed to say that his miser's soul wanted to keep this moment forever. The old hunger, the gnawing need to lock away and hold. The sun crept up another inch. "Draw yourself in, Marley," he muttered to himself. "Watch as much as you can. Don't get banished to the night." Then that child that Scrooge was talking to ran straight through his form. Marley had no notice, not even 1 second. The boy gave a shiver as he passed, as if he felt the sliver of ice in Marley's soul. But this lightest of contacts moved him, started him drifting towards the light. "No, don't let this end now," he pleaded. "I will go back to the grave, the veil, the web, the tomb, the torture soon." And he tried to clutch onto anything, something to give him purchase, but he could not. "No, no, not now," he cried. "I will become the revenant in the shade again. I'll become dust and ashes and moans and sighs, the rappings on damask-covered tables, the whisperers in charlatans' ears, the rattle of a tambourine soon." As he wailed, he neared the road once more and the light. Suddenly he was taken another way by a dandy's coat-tails. "I will become the ghoul, I promise, the ghast, the memento mori, the despair, the dread, the damp corner of a cellar, the glint in an undertaker's eye, soon, but not now." Again he was caught on a living soul's shadow, this time a lady with a basket of spiced breads hurrying on who knows what errand. "Let me stay 1 minute more." But he wafted like gossamer in the breeze, unstoppable thistledown. Just let me fix his face in my eyes. Let me eat in his bliss. Let me take that back with me. That's all I ask." Marley clawed at the stone world around him, attempting to cram the remembrance of ecstasy into his soul. But purchase eluded him. Looking up, he could see that whilst he was distracted, that Scrooge had gone. Dancing with his housekeeper, no doubt. And still he moved out towards the sunlight, inevitably unstoppable. Suddenly he felt an arm around him, clutching him very hard at his spectral body. Marley had no time to question what was happening before he heard a chirping voice in his ear. "Hold tight, Nuncle," it said, and there was a sound like somebody attempting to stifle a sneeze, and abruptly Marley's perspective shifted. Oh, it was that little jester who'd met all those hours ago. He had transported Marley back to his spot in the shadows. "A Merry Christmas to you, Sirrah," he said, whilst he jiggled the head on a stick in Marley's face. "Merry, merry, merry," said Marley in indignant tones. The jester backed away from Marley, as if he believed that he was about to strike him, but Marley did not. No. Rather, he stood stock still for a moment, and then doubled up in laughter, pointing first at the little man's face and then the face on the stick. He kept laughing, he kept pointing from one to the other. "What is the matter?" said the jester. "What is it?" "Well, it is you, and you are it," sputtered Marley, barely able to keep to his feet. "Master?" asked the jester. "You are the maker of your own facsimile, are you not?" said Marley. "Indeed. I whittled it into my own visage myself," said the jester. "Aye, yes, carved every line and crease, every imperfection," said Marley. "Why, I am quite the perfect started the little man, but Marley interjected. "Yes, every stitch on his raiments fashioned by you, yes, every bell attached by you." "Why, yes, sir," said the jester. "And you make it do your bidding?" asked Marley. The jester answered in the affirmative. "And so it is with all of us," cried Marley. "We make puppets of ourselves, and we make them play out the parts that we may until we believe ourselves typecast in our very own lives. And then we complain about it. Yes, both strong and hamstrung." "Aye, Sirrah," agreed the jester. "We create our own chains out of our own disappointments, our sadnesses, our guilt, and thus, once burdened, however much we hate that same load, we believe we must bear it as it is our own sin," he said. "But no, I am not the same man I was in life. Spirit, why should I bear that man's chains? Why, I'm not even the same man who spoke to you in that alleyway last night." "That is most true, sir," said the jester, grinning from ear to ear. "No, nor even am I the same person who started this very sentence," said Marley. "I'm changed by saying it, by seeing how you feel about it, about whether it makes you happy or sad or confused, or by the thoughts you have to say of what I might say next. Yes, I must admit to being a little confused, Sirrah," said the jester. "Yes, you see, and that's changed how you see the world, how you think, as has this, as has that," pronounced Marley in triumph. "So, why do I still wear the chains of a man that I only truly know as an anecdote, a prologue? Ha! Yes, I was a prologue, a prologue to my own existence. And with this, Marley took to fitting. Laughter burst once again. The door to Scrooge's house opened whilst Marley was doubled up. Evidently the old gentleman was of a mind to see the good world on this Christmas morning. "Look at him, Spirit," said Marley, pointing. Scrooge was just approaching two gentlemen, the very two gentlemen that Jester had been interested in on their first meeting. "Look at him. He bears no chains," says Marley, "for he has no belief that he should have them any more. You see, that's why the child could not have any. Dear Tiny Tim, long life to him. He was not especially good. He was not especially saintly. He was just a child, with a child's self-belief that he could not be truly bad. Ah, Spirit, that we could all be as children. But that's this day, eh? That's the gift that it brings us. It reminds us what it is to be children again, and perhaps we should just forgive ourselves of our own trespasses against our own beings. My lord, my charge is even hence." The Jester was visibly panicked as he saw one of the gentlemen, the one with the dandelion clock hair, after a short discussion with Scrooge, suddenly clutch his chest with his hand. Scrooge danced down the street, away from him, not noticing the distress. "Mr. D, I must away," said the Jester, who performed that peculiar little half-sneeze and disappeared in a trice. Yes, you go," said Marley, still in delight with himself. The Jester reappeared behind the body of Mr. D, who had just slumped to the floor. The Jester put his hand out as if to help him up. A spectral hand came out of the corpse, and soon the body followed. The fellow was apparently quite bemused to find himself standing by his former body. But the Jester capered and made him laugh, and something told Marley that this would be the beginning of a firm friendship. Marley looked down to the chains that wrapped around his body. "Well, my friends," he said to them, "you've been with me for long enough now, but you're not mine anymore, if ever you were mine. And so I release myself from you." So saying, he let a few links fall into the patch of bright sunlight by his side. They dissolved with a sound like children's laughter. Marley smiled. Yes, he thought, remembering the words of Tiny Tim. God bless us, every one. And with that thought, changing him from what he had been into what he would be next, Marley stepped out into the light, and his chains dissipated, became like doves, like children's laughter, like the rise and break of champagne bubbles, like a broken promise, like a half-remembered tune, like sighs, like hope, like light, like warmth and like love. The chains and Jacob Marley melted away into the bright morning air.